In a world full of noise, connection, and endless interactions, loneliness still lingers in the shadows. Quiet, but profound. Fulton Sheen saw through this paradox, revealing that loneliness is not simply the absence of people, but the absence of meaningful connection. What if the cure isn't waiting for someone to love us, but in learning how to love others? Join me as we explore Sheen's powerful message, a journey that uncovers the true remedy for loneliness through love, service, and the discovery of a deeper purpose.
Breaking the Chains of Loneliness, Fulton Sheen's Timeless Insights. In today's world, where we are constantly connected through technology, social media, and instant messaging, loneliness has become an invisible epidemic. Despite the endless ways to stay in touch, many of us feel more isolated than ever. This paradox, that we are more connected yet lonelier, raises a fundamental question. What does it truly mean to be alone? Fulton Sheen, with his profound understanding of human nature, dives deep into this universal experience in his timeless sermon on loneliness. His message isn't just about identifying loneliness, but about showing us the path to overcoming it, guiding us toward a life filled with love, connection, and purpose. Sheen's reflections offer more than just a diagnosis of loneliness. They serve as a roadmap to healing. From the traps of egotism to the power of love and service, he challenges us to rethink how we engage with ourselves, others, and the world around us. Loneliness, he argues, is not merely a condition of being alone. It is a condition of the heart, a heart closed off from the transformative power of love. The silent depths of loneliness, a hidden epidemic. Loneliness is often perceived as something reserved for the elderly, the marginalized, or the socially isolated. But Sheen's sermon unravels this myth, showing us that loneliness is much broader and more insidious than we might think. It affects people across all walks of life, regardless of age, social status, or circumstance. In his vivid storytelling, Sheen describes children from broken homes, young adults navigating superficial relationships, and even leaders who, despite their position at the top, feel isolated and burdened by the weight of responsibility. What makes loneliness so universal, Sheen suggests, is that it isn't just about being physically alone. Loneliness can thrive in the midst of a crowd. You can be surrounded by people, have a full social calendar, and still feel an overwhelming sense of isolation. This deeper form of loneliness comes from a lack of genuine human connection. A connection that isn't satisfied by mere proximity or casual interaction, but by meaningful relationships where we are truly seen, heard, and valued. In this way, Sheen expands our understanding of loneliness, painting it not as an experience of the few, but as a shared human condition. We all, at some point in our lives, face this invisible foe. But instead of despairing in its grip, Sheen invites us to explore its causes and ultimately its cure. The paradox of love, when wanting turns to isolation. At the heart of Sheen's exploration of loneliness is a profound paradox. The more we crave love, the more we push it away. This insight challenges our instinctive response to loneliness, our desire to be loved. While wanting to be loved is natural, Sheen warns that when this desire becomes excessive, it transforms into something harmful. The more we seek love without offering it in return, the more isolated we become. Sheen offers a striking example of this paradox. He speaks of a mother who, in her overwhelming need to feel appreciated by her daughter, suffocates the relationship with constant demands for attention. Similarly, he tells the story of a fiancée who meticulously tracks how often her partner calls or writes, measuring his love by the quantity of his interactions rather than the quality. In both cases, the pursuit of love turns into a self-destructive cycle. By focusing so intensely on receiving love, these individuals lose the ability to truly connect with those they care about. The lesson here is simple but profound. Love cannot be demanded. It must be freely given and received. When we seek to be loved without loving in return, we build walls around our hearts, walls that only grow higher the more we focus on our own needs. This paradox lies at the root of much of the loneliness we experience, trapping us in a cycle of craving love while simultaneously pushing it away. Egotism, the silent barrier to connection. Building on this paradox, Sheen delves into the deeper cause of loneliness: egotism. Egotism, or an excessive focus on oneself, is what fuels the desire to be loved without giving love in return. It is a self-centeredness that traps people in their own feelings of inadequacy, fear, and longing, preventing them from reaching out and forming genuine connections with others. Sheen argues that egotism is one of the greatest barriers to overcoming loneliness. When we are consumed by our own needs, desires, and emotions, we lose sight of the people around us. Instead of building relationships based on mutual understanding and care, we become isolated in our own world, unable to truly see or connect with others. This self-centeredness, Sheen explains, creates a vicious cycle. The more we focus on ourselves, the more isolated we become, and the more isolated we become, the more we retreat into ourselves. It is a downward spiral that only deepens the sense of loneliness, cutting us off from the very thing we crave: genuine human connection. Listening, the key to breaking the cycle. But Sheen doesn't stop at diagnosing the problem. He offers us a way out, a path that begins with something as simple as listening. In a world where conversations are often rushed and superficial, genuine listening is a rare gift. Sheen emphasizes that listening is more than just hearing words. It is about truly understanding and empathizing with the person in front of us. It is about making space for them to express their thoughts and feelings without judgment or interruption. Listening, Sheen argues, is a form of love. It is a way of showing others that they matter, that their thoughts and feelings are important. When we take the time to listen, we create a space where loneliness cannot thrive, where people feel seen and heard. In listening, we break down the barriers of egotism and open the door to real connection. Sheen tells the story of a psychologist who found that many people in need of help felt lonely simply because they weren't being listened to. He conducted an experiment where people listened to each other for only a few minutes before offering advice or solutions. The results were clear. People don't just need solutions, they need to be heard. By taking the time to truly listen, we create an environment where loneliness can begin to dissolve. Serving others, the antidote to loneliness. While listening is an essential step, Sheen offers an even more powerful remedy for loneliness: service to others. He shares a personal story from his time as a young priest when he felt a deep sense of loneliness. Instead of retreating into himself, he chose to reach out and help a poor family in need. Through this act of service, his own loneliness began to fade. By focusing on the needs of others, we open our hearts and transform our own isolation into connection. Sheen's message here is profound. Loneliness is not something that can be cured by waiting for others to love us. It can only be overcome by actively loving and serving others. When we shift our focus away from ourselves and toward the needs of those around us, we break free from the cycle of egotism and isolation. In serving others, we discover that we are no longer alone. This concept of service as the cure for loneliness is rooted in the idea that love is not just a feeling, but an action. It is something we must choose to do, even when we don't feel like it. Sheen's story about helping a poor family illustrates how, by giving of ourselves, we not only help others, but also find the connection and fulfillment we seek. In giving, we receive. Perhaps not in material terms, but in the deeper sense of being part of a community, of being seen and valued. The spiritual loneliness of the soul. Searching for God. Sheen takes this discussion of loneliness to a deeper spiritual level. He acknowledges that some forms of loneliness cannot be cured by human relationships alone. There is a deeper, metaphysical loneliness that many people experience, a longing for something greater that no earthly relationship can satisfy. This spiritual loneliness, Sheen argues, comes from the fact that we are not truly at home in this world. Our souls are searching for a connection that transcends the physical and emotional. We are searching for God. This metaphysical loneliness is a reminder that our ultimate fulfillment lies not in the things of this world, but in our relationship with God. It is a longing that nothing on earth can satisfy, no matter how deep our human connections may be. And yet, Sheen offers hope. God understands our loneliness because he entered into it. When Christ cried out on the cross, "Why have you forsaken me?" He experienced the deepest form of human isolation, but he did not stay there. He conquered it. For Sheen, the ultimate answer to loneliness is found in the love of God. While human relationships are essential, they are not enough to fill the deepest voids in our hearts. Only God's love can provide the complete sense of belonging and fulfillment that we seek. In God, we find the perfect cure for the loneliness of the soul. Love as the final cure. A life of giving and receiving. Sheen concludes his sermon with the most important message of all. Love is the ultimate answer to loneliness. But this love is not the selfish, egotistical love that seeks only to be loved in return. It is a love that is freely given, without expectation or demand. It is the kind of love that God gives us, a love that makes us lovable even when we feel unworthy. This divine love is not just something we receive, it is something we are called to give. Sheen challenges us to move beyond seeking love for ourselves and to focus on giving love to others. In loving others, we find the cure for our own loneliness. By opening our hearts and giving of ourselves, we create connections that are deeper, more meaningful, and more lasting. Sheen's message is both simple and profound. If you want to overcome loneliness, love others. Love them not because they deserve it or because they can give you something in return, but because love is the only thing that can truly heal the human heart. In giving love, we receive it in ways that go far beyond our expectations. Conclusion: breaking free through love and service. Fulton Sheen's sermon on loneliness is a powerful reminder that loneliness, though pervasive, is not unbeatable. Through his deep insights, he shows us that the key to overcoming loneliness lies not in waiting for others to love us, but in actively loving others. Whether it's through listening, serving, or simply being present, we can break free from the chains of isolation by focusing on the needs of those around us. But Sheen's message goes even deeper than that. He reminds us that our ultimate fulfillment comes not from human relationships alone, but from our relationship with God. In his love, we find the perfect answer to the deepest loneliness of the soul. In a world filled with people longing for connection, Sheen's words offer hope. Loneliness can be conquered, but only through love. And in that love, we discover not only the cure for our own loneliness, but the key to a life filled with meaning, purpose, and connection.